everyone, and we're live with another edition of Notes on the News Feed, which is not news, but just my notes on the news feed. It's where I read to you headlines from the news, from my news feed, and I share with you my thoughts and ideas about those headlines. But as I said before, it's not news. Yeah, we got to work on the studio. It's just my notes on the news. And I said I was going to try to get my... Hey, welcome into the chat. I'm trying to get my stuff set up. We need to do some work over here. I'm Angela. The channel is Be Fabulous You. Thank you for the like. Let us proceed. We're working on 1,000 subscribers. So if you are already a subscriber, thank you. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're brand new to my channel, welcome, and go on ahead and subscribe right now. Okay, let us proceed with the notes on the news feed. Welcome in everybody. After school shooting. Teens stage lie-in outside of White House calling for gun reform. Now, I knew they were doing something outside of the White House, but I didn't realize until last night or this morning what they did. And I thought that it was really significant because I feel like if I saw 17 bodies laying outside for 3 minutes, I think that really does make a statement, you know? Like, wow, it only took, it just caused me to think like, dang, it took 3 minutes to take the lives of 17 people. And I had realized a while ago it's way easier to tear something down than it is to build. Because, it takes 9 months to build a life. And then those children were not like just fresh newborns. They were like grown-up children. So 9 months in the belly and then all the years of living to create them. And then in 3 seconds, hey there, Angela, can't stay, but wanted to show support. Homeschooling still in progress. Oh, you're a homeschool. I love homeschooling. When I worked in public schools, I was like, oh, if I ever have children, they will never, ever. I will homeschool. So I started reading and researching and became just fascinated by homeschooling. So thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it. But like all this invested, and in 3 minutes, you tore down not only one life, but 17 lives. That's just really, really, what an illustration. 3 strikes law could soon be a thing of the past, but not if Attorney General Sessions, that's Beauregard, what's his middle name? I like to say his whole name because it sounds so, he sounds like a daggone Confederate in his name. Beauregard somebody Sessions. Jefferson, Beauregard Jefferson. I don't know what his name is. But anyway, A.G. Sessions has something to say about it. So I guess there has been some conversation, some movement about getting rid of this 3 strikes. And instead of being a temporary slave, now you're permanently enslaved by the system to, you can come in and out of being enslaved, but you might be able to get your freedom. But now I guess it's just, if Sessions has anything to do with it, he of course, he doesn't want to do anything progressive. He wants to just, do the most regressive things that he can conceive of. Anything we can think of that's regressive, he's probably for it. Jail term for clown cartoon of Malaysia Prime Minister. So I saw the image. It was like, on a wall, somebody, they draw like a cartoon illustration, a caricature type thing. And so I don't know if that was the example of, hey, feast, Iyapo Yapa, Iyapo Yapa. Welcome. Do you see any of the footage and stuff from South Africa yet? I know Miss Kia, who might be homeschooling, saw some of it. But hopefully I can get Miss Ivy in the studio to talk about her experience. Okay, so we talked about Attorney General Sessions being regressive and trying to, keep things as backwards as possible. It's like it's already a regressive place as it is. He's just trying to take it back even further. Jail term for clown cartoon of Malaysia PM. So it was just like if the imagery was correct, it was just something on a wall. Like, I guess it was a caricature of the prime minister, and they like, oh no, you got to go to jail for that. We don't take kindly to you making jokes or making cartoons of the prime minister. I mean, the punishment don't seem to fit the crime. I don't know what the crime was, but I guess the crime of drawing a cartoon of the man. Jay-Z leaves $11,000 tip at New York bar, along with other top stories you missed while you were sleeping. When I yay when I was in New York, when I was finishing up and just kind of getting burnt out from the youth development work that I was doing, one of my girlfriends is like, oh, you should work in bartending, work at a restaurant bartending, you can make good money in tips here, you have the personality for it or whatever. Thank you for the like. I appreciate it. As I've gone on, I do have a personality for service, I guess. But I never got an $11,000 tip. I think the biggest tip I ever got was like $20 or around. Somebody got a coffee that was like $1 and they gave me 20, and it was like, woo! But it all counterbalanced. I probably did on average more tips than other people, but I probably gave on average more service, and I served more personality than other people. But some people, it don't matter. They not really gonna leave a tip, and then some people, do you very well with tips. So it all balances out. The power of black spending. This is coming off of Financial Juneteenth. Now, the one thing that I noticed that I thought was significant, and I really wanted to see more about it, but I didn't see more. But it talked about black folks being 14% of the population and spending disproportionately more in some categories. And I was really curious because I was like, well, I know black folks, we are consumers. And I think of that a lot, even in terms of this channel, because I think of, as I'm watching how much television I'm consuming, it's sort of amazing to me. The amount of television I consume. And that's just what gets reported on here. There's other TV that I consume that's not reported. And so, I guess my consciousness of that in some weird, twisted way has made me even more committed to producing the commentary on the TV and on other things, so that I'm not just like a passive consumer. But it's just all, and I'm not really much of like a money spender type consumer. I'm just not, that's not really, if it was part of it's just not really part of my personality or value system. But I just think that as black folks, we like to consume money on clothes, spend money on clothes, on cars, on houses, on hairdos, on nails, on eyelashes. I guess I'm more thinking about women. But even if you look at, in general, the way that men dress, even like in the so-called black conscious community here, there are some people you see who is sort of like, I can just see they spend a lot of money on clothes. And yeah, it's at the African World Festival every year. They might spend, $1,000 on, grand boobas, dashikis, whatever. But at the same time, like I know, for example, my mother's husband has like 20 gazillion of them. Like he does not need anymore. And I kind of have gotten, I guess because I had that consignment shop, and I always tell y'all, people would come in with garbage bags full of clothes. Some people with one, some people with 20 or 40 or 100 garbage bags full of clothes, many of them with tags on them that had never been worn. And it just, I was just like, it was just amazing to me. Now, those weren't all black people. Those were the opening of the Black Panther movie shows extreme spending power. We spend a lot, right? And people didn't just go to the movie because people got, like, I was involved with packing this Ivy box for AKAs, and they had special AKA black t-shirts, sweatshirts and head wraps specifically for people to wear to the show. But there were other people who went out and purchased t-shirts, special things to wear to the show. In Detroit, I told y'all, or in the Detroit area, I told y'all they were pre-selling out houses. And when they pre-sold out the houses, sometimes they came with specially catered in meals or prepared meals, or, it was like a big spending opportunity on food, on clothes, on after parties. There were so many after parties that I saw where people went to the show and then they went and had after party discussions, hangouts, whatever. And it was, with your ticket, it was only $5 to get in. But if you didn't have your ticket, like you hadn't seen it, but you wanted to go hang out, you could go wow. You could go. And I think that if there were more, like, I don't know what's going to happen. I saw somebody tweet yesterday. They're like, I hope that y'all support Ava DuVernay and Oprah Winfrey when A Wrinkle in Time comes out in March. Is it in March it's coming out? So I don't know. I saw an article on Brazil and the amount of that this particular show, Black Panther, there were a lot of pre-sales of houses in the same way that we saw in Detroit, where people would buy out a whole house and then sell tickets to groups or whatever. And so there were a lot of pre-sales of houses in Brazil to Black Brazilians. So they all watched, or, a lot of people wanted to come together and watch together as a collective. But that this was like the third or fourth movie. They don't get a lot of opportunities to see Black folks on the screen. And so it's becoming part of the culture of movie going to buy houses like that in Brazil, which I thought was interesting. I mean, I told you I was like just the first, actually I saw when we had Hidden Colors, I saw people buying houses in advance of the show as a fundraiser. So you pay, $25 for your ticket, but that meant some child got to go who, it was like, I remember seeing some of those and some just regular houses bought out. And I don't remember a movie before that where I saw houses, bought out. But Facebook is a weird world. It just depends on who your friends happen to be, what you see. So, and a lot of these people are not friends, but whatever organizations you follow or whatever. And then I guess also, Facebook's own personal algorithm, because you don't see everything that everybody posts. The power of Black spending. So we are consumers, and we've talked about this for years. Hey, Yapa. I pulled back out my The Debt, that Randall Robinson that I've been trying to read for a long time, but I was like, I need to, now that I finished my book for book club, I guess I should go back and try to read The Debt. I have a hard time with nonfiction a lot of times. But, we've been talking about it for years, how we don't produce anything. We don't produce our food. In Detroit, we have the Black Food Security Network. So there's like a conscious conversation. There's some space where food stuff is grown. But when I had my garden, like like my little organic garden hookup thing. And when I was in Mississippi, and I was like, okay, I'm about to learn to provide some food for myself. So if the stuff hit the fan, I might not be able to wipe my butt. Although I did learn what flowers I could use, plants I could use if I could find them to wipe my butt. We don't produce toilet tissue. The Black Muslims here we're selling and producing toilet tissue here and maybe in Mississippi. But we don't, but I'm a figure out how to grow some food. If I had to feed myself on what I was able to grow, I'd have been starved to death. I'd be dead, because it's no joke. And the same thing with the Black Food Security Network and the I can't think of the farm, but there's a farm that's Black. There are a couple other farms, urban farms here that aren't necessarily Black. There's one by me that's Black. But National Food Security Network has a consciousness that goes along with being Black. But, if we don't produce our clothes, we don't produce our food, we don't produce hardly anything. And even when you want to support Black owned businesses, like I remember when I worked in a boutique, the Black whole, like the whole totality. And there was all kinds of, shea butter there, Nature's Blessing hair pomade, whatever, incense. But as I got involved with the collective and I'm doing orders and seeing I'm like, very few of these businesses that we're purchasing from wholesale are Black businesses. And that was deep to me. I mean, it wasn't, for the most part, people were consciously trying to purchase from Black businesses, and I wonder if we could develop food co-ops of our own. In Mississippi, in Jackson, there was a mayor from Detroit who was working on the whole cooperative movement. Now, Jackson was a Black city. He became mayor of Jackson. And then shortly when I looked up, I was in Hattiesburg, an hour away, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're doing a cooperative conference in Jackson. And I had already kind of become conscious because I was working with some Black Muslims in Mississippi who had a company that did like water type stuff, like pipes, fire extinguishers, and they got a contract. We got a contract at the Jackson airport. And the reason we got the contract is because somebody told them to apply, and part of the application rule was that, or guidelines were that you had to be a certain percentage Black owned or employ a certain percentage of Black people to do the job. And none of these companies came from all over the country to go to the little workshop so they could bid on the contract. And so all of these municipalities, these like Detroit or wherever, these Black municipalities, we're not hiring Black folks. And people were like, well, what if we can't find enough Black people? You know, it was like this idea of having, and I don't think it was like 14%. I think it was like, if the city of Jackson is 50, 60, 80% Black, and I don't remember what it was, this was like a smaller percentage, but bigger than what had been in terms of Black engagement in your company in order for you to get this contract. And none of them had anywhere near that. And that company in Hattiesburg had it, and they got the contract. But that's when I first started kind of getting conscious of Jackson. I knew that this man was there who had been part of the National Conference of Black Lawyers and the Republic of New Africa. So I knew he was conscious. But when I saw that he was doing a conference on cooperative economics, like food, like there's a whole cooperative movement. I've been in food co-ops. I've been in credit unions. I've been around the cooperative movement. And the idea that he was about to link the cooperative movement up with some Black consciousness. And then shortly after that, I was like about to register for the conference. And I'm like, maybe we should move to Jackson. Shortly after that, he had a heart attack. Now, his family had an autopsy performed. And what I've been told is that there was no foul play. But still, it's called Jackson Moving. They're still there. They're still working. I thought it was going to be wiped out after, and I'm blanking on his name. My mother worked with him. I know his sister here in Detroit, because when he was becoming mayor, he had been on the city council. They had buses. Buses of people came from Detroit to Jackson, Mississippi. If you go, the very first video I posted up on this page is his Chokwe Lumumba. It's his inauguration, my experience there. And you know who was there, who I love? I'm totally off the subject, but Cassandra Wilson was there performing. And I love Cassandra Wilson. And when I moved to Mississippi, I'm like, I'm going to get to see Cassandra Wilson. And it was like, I could never seem to. And she was there at the inauguration performing. Chokwe Lumumba, with the organization that he started, or they were, his son is mayor now. His son is very conscious. His son, but the organization is still there, because I get text messages from them. You can come out and volunteer. We're doing this, we're doing that. But anyway, we consume a lot. And the idea, I think that in the same way that Black Wall Streets, or wherever you have Black businesses gets destroyed, and integration was another way of destroying Black business, because if we're spending our money with each other, we're enriching each other. When you break that up so that there aren't Black businesses and we're spending our money with you, then we're enriching you, especially when we disproportionately spend more than other people. So yeah, let me keep it moving. After school shooting, Dallas mayor, absolutely right. That's a whole conversation. That's a whole after school shooting, Dallas mayor, because people are always like, oh, we have to learn how to build businesses. Oh, we have to learn how to spend our money on things other than tennis shoes. And there has always been a percentage of Black folks who are building business, who are business minded, who are business oriented, who are building and thriving and developing. And you see again and again and again that being destroyed, that being broken up, that being busted out. Dang, I saw this movie the other day about a whole nother community that I didn't know about. We hear about Black Wall Street, but I think that for every one Black Wall Street that we hear about, there's probably 10 or 40 communities of us who had come together. Yesterday, we were talking about communities of free folks, right? People who had escaped enslavement and built communities. And that's another type of community of folks, of free folks coming together and building. And they had some representation of that in the Underground Railroad, which I thought was interesting as well. After school shooting, Dallas mayor tells NRA to find a new home for convention. I think that the National Rifle Association and people associated with it should be shamed and embarrassed to stand up in public and say that they're a member of the NRA and that they support the NRA and that they've taken money from NRA and that we're having an NRA conference here. I think it should be like a matter of shame. Not as a Black person, but like I feel like Americans, I'm just shocked that they just letting these gun companies just kill. I feel like this sounds kind of crazy, but it's one thing for them to let them kill us, but they killing up white children, and y'all gonna stand for that? Stand up for y'all kids. And I'm not surprised that they're like, oh, Black people being gunned down on the street by cops. We don't think anything is wrong with that, but y'all don't think it's something wrong with them killing your children and your people? Okay. Because even though I'm confused too, I haven't looked at the children who got killed in the 17 kids who got killed or whatever. But they keep saying that the teenager who had the 19-year-old, the boy, the man, the child, the person who killed the people, that he hated Black people and he hated immigrants. But was the school basically Black and immigrant? Now, I saw one little boy, they say he was a junior ROTC person, and he used his body to shield his classmates, and they want to give him a burial. I think that is really sad. They want to give him like a full military burial. But just imagine being a child and being in a situation where you're using your body to try to, I don't know. I guess just like, Ivy's coming back from Soweto, South Africa, all of that. Children, greeting, sister, not news. Peace, my beloved brother. Thank you for the recommendation. Yay, good morning, your radical home sister. You're this Black, that Black. What's the name of the book that Apple talked? I want to read it. I want to put it on our book club list. But I haven't. But I want to keep it in my consciousness. Okay, let me get off of it. Yes, that's me. Put the name of the book there so I can see it on the video. Say it on the video so that when this Black, y'all go to Amazon. Is it on Amazon? And get This Black. It looks like it's Afrofuturism. This Black. Yeah, This Black, This Black, This Black. I love the name of it. On Amazon. Your Radical Home Sister on YouTube is the author, and I don't know what your name is in the real world. It's Afrofuturism. Yes. Okay. Yeah, so NRA, I think they should, but the mayor of Dallas, isn't he Black or brown? So I don't know. I don't know why these white people, and it's obvious that, we got $80 million from the NRA, and that's why we're not saying anything. Like, y'all don't see. Y'all, I don't understand. FBI to name Baltimore America's deadliest city. They say the numbers are in. I think they had 340 killings this year by gunfire. Per capita, it's the highest. It's higher than Detroit. It's higher than New York. I remember when I was in high school, Detroit was the deadliest city. And I think that year we had 365 killings. It was like my last year of high school going into college. I remember when I got to New York, people were like, where are you from? Down south somewhere? And I was like, no, I'm from Detroit. And people would be like, oh, where that? In the south somewhere? Like, they weren't really scared. I thought they were going to be scared. Like, oh, she's from the deadliest city in the world. But they like, we don't know nothing about no Detroit. We from New York. So Baltimore, my cousin was just in Bmore. I've never been. I don't really know anything about it. Substitute teacher fired after body slamming middle school student. I don't know where they get these people from. Madonna, my son is Malawi's future president. Now I knew Madonna, and then that I saw it was like an image of Madonna with her son. Her son is very handsome, or the boy she adopted, or whatever the child she's raising. He's very handsome, and I wonder about, even though he looks black, he looks, unambiguously black and African. I wonder what his mind is like. I wonder what his consciousness is like. I think of when a black person has a child with a white person, that child is, am I black? Am I white? Where do my loyalties lie? And if some stuff goes down, what do they do? Whose side are they on? And different people come down on different sides, I guess, but it seems like there's like conflict. Whereas me, my mama is black, my daddy is black, I look black, I ain't really got no confusion for me. It's like, I know I'm black. I know what side, I know what side I'm on. Although I guess there are people who are black who are on the side of the Europeans. It depends on your value system, your identification. But usually when I see somebody who looks visually black, I assume that they have black parents, that they've been raised by black people. But when you see this, when I saw that image of him with Madonna, I'm like, I wonder what his mind is like. I wonder what his heart is like. And what if he does become the president of Malawi? And what does it mean? Who is he, like, in his consciousness? Like, what has he experienced? And I don't know if it's bad or good, or I don't know, but it's just like, that's deep to me. And then there was this whole thing where I guess Malawi says that they had a rule where you had to live in Malawi for 12 months before you adopted a child. And that rule was waived for Madonna to adopt her first child. And then she went on Oprah or something. I just skimmed the article, and she said, well, they didn't have any written laws. And then the next time she went to adopt a child from Malawi, what's her attraction to Malawi? She couldn't find no black or brown children. What's going on? And then the next time she went to adopt a child from Malawi, it was an 18-month. You got to live in Malawi for 18 months. And there was some back and forth, and the courts overruled it. But she got the second child. And then we saw the last twins that she got. She got 4 children from Malawi. I need to look up Malawi. I don't even know where Malawi is and what the story is, because as I'm getting reports from South Africa, I'm like, oh, duh, South Africa, Zimbabwe, it's the same region of the continent. I hadn't made that connection because we just saw Zimbabwe. White people need to leave our children alone. We just saw Zimbabwe have a change of administration, and my understanding as it's unfolded is that it's really a change to make Zimbabwe more friendly to white people. And we know that South Africa has never been, even though we don't like to talk about it because it's against the law, or the black law, to say anything about Nelson Mandela or the ANC. But we know that when all of that stuff happened, and apartheid was, no more, that white people still owned all of the land, or most of the land, and most of the wealth, and most of the resources, and most of the good jobs. And, so anyway, that's all in the same region of the world. It's a different country, but what is a country? That's like just an arbitrary line, but it's the same region of the world. It's, so what's really going on? What's going on? Kendra, she'll drop the sons off later. So I need to look up Malawi. Anyway, because sometimes it's connections, and the newspaper is not going to make those connections for you. It's like you have to start to make some connections and understand. Bringing solar power to a remote community in the Himalayas. Beyonce turns down $10 million offer for Blue Ivy trademark. Somebody has a wedding planning company, and Beyonce tried to trademark her daughter's name. Is that the child's name? Blue Ivy, not Ivy Park. And she couldn't, because this person had already been doing business as Blue Ivy for a wedding business. And so now I guess the person said, hey, you should become a partner in this wedding business, and you could have a trademark, and I could get rich. And they say that Beyonce or Beyonce's lawyers were like, no, and we have all the documentation that you're trying to make money off of selling us the name or the trademark. I don't know. I don't understand. But anyway, that's what's going on. Thank you. I'm loving the way she thinks. I feel kind of random in how I process things, but we got to talk it out. We got to think it out. We got to analyze. We have to try to think critically, and we have to try to understand what's going on, not like beyond the propaganda, beyond the veil. Because that's the other thing, like coming back from South Africa, one thing we were talking about is how small Europe is. Europe isn't even a continent, and how large Africa is, and how there's so much, there are two things. One, for such a small area of land and so few people, the invaders, these people have really wreaked some havoc out here, but also when I think about how large Africa is, and how on one hand you think, oh, like, somebody had told me that they were someplace in Ghana last year. They told me they were in someplace in Ghana, and that they met elders who were like 125 years old. And I was like, 125 years old? I mean, I follow the articles of the people who were like 104, 108, 112. I think is the oldest person I've seen. We don't see no people who are 125 years old. And I was kind of like, that's kind of suspicious. But then when I thought about it, I'm like, there's probably so much, there's black matter in the universe. There's probably so much black matter in the world, so many areas that we can't see, can't touch, haven't touched, don't understand. We don't know what's going on there, even though we think, oh, if it's not on Google, it's not real, it doesn't exist. If the white man hasn't mapped it or written about it, or it's not part of this system, then it can't be happening. But why couldn't that be happening? There could be all kinds of stuff happening in that continent that I don't know anything about. There's no way for me to Google it. And I just kind of felt a little hopeful, like thinking, and on one hand, there's like this idea that wants you to believe that, Europe has touched everything and has their hand in everything and is running everything. But it's not true. And we have to see beyond that propaganda, that BS, that veil, to the truth. The melanin is magnetic. Yes. And just trust. Like, even I saw this thing about some people who, somebody who, they were like in either Haiti or somewhere, and they were having flashes of the native people, the native people from that region, from the Caribbean, not the Arawaks, but whatever. They were having flashes of the people. And as a child, they didn't understand. And they said when they went to school as a child, the teacher is like, oh, well, these native people have all been wiped out. But they knew that their people were from those native people. And as an adult, they realized that they were having flashes. They had a spiritual connection to their people. And that's not something, we can't quantify that. We can't track that. We can't, so it's like that melanin is magic. There are all of these connections and all of this information and all of this power and all of this truth out there that we can't see. I mean, we might not be able to see, we might not be able to exactly articulate, but it's there and it's real and it's powerful, 15,000-year-old houses found in Africa show advanced ages of prehistoric society. Australia tax staff told to report long lunch colleagues. So the company is trying to tell the people, if you notice that the person you're working with takes too long for lunch, report them. If you notice that the person you're working with comes in and eats breakfast instead of getting to work, report them. If you notice that the person you're working with goes to the bathroom and stays too long, report them. If you notice that the person that you're working with, breathes too deeply, report them. Mitsuki Shigeta, If you notice that your neighbor, is a member of Black Lives Matter, report them. Or they have a red, black, and green flag, report them. Or they have too many black people coming over, report them. Or if you notice that in the slave quarters, somebody seemed like they might be trying to learn to read, report them to massa. Mitsutoki Shigeta, baby factory dad wins paternity rights. This is like in Malaysia or somewhere like in the like in Malay, not in Malay, I don't know if it's Malaysia, but not the Middle East, but Indonesia and that region of the world. So this man had 16 different surrogates because he said that he wanted to, thank you, because he said that he wanted to have a bunch of children. And the people started noticing, or the government or the officials or whatever started noticing that he had all of these children. He was a single man who was having all these children. So they're thinking that he's trying to hook something up like like I guess he could like have all these children and then sell them or some kind of something. They thought it was something nefarious going on. But he says he just loves children and wants to have children. He set up trust funds for them. He's wealthy. He can handle it. And he want to have 16 children. So he's having 16 children. But I don't understand why he is not. I mean, I guess I guess I wouldn't want to be the woman who's having 16 children. Although some of my, my great grandmothers and stuff like that had a whole bunch of kids. But I don't understand why he's, using surrogates. But I guess you could spread the labor out and the responsibility out, or, I don't know. But I thought that was interesting. Yes, we need to stop fearing evil folk. And this is the way you know the truth, you know victory. And that's really something. When I lived down south, I noticed when I moved back up here that I was feeling a lot of fear and anxiety about talking down south. I remember I was in a group of people who were supposed to be starting a black business, an organization of black businesses, like a cooperative, like a collective type thing. And the people they didn't want to call it a black business thing. They were afraid that it was illegal. I mean, I just felt like I was like in I don't even want to say the 1920s, but it was just like their consciousness and their awareness and how they were processing things was really backwards. It was really distressing. It was stressful. Being in the Bible Belt was very stressful for me. And I didn't feel like I could speak freely. And I really, quiet as it's kept, I really don't want to speak freely now. But Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower or Parable of the Talents is one of those books. It's one of my favorite books where the community has made ties with people outside of their community. And when the stuff hits the fan, it's those ties that they have with people outside of the community to where they're able to have some sort of assistance. And I realized that if I'm too afraid to reach out beyond, then I won't have any community. I won't be able to connect with people. If I'm not able to reach out and speak the truth and speak my truth and be who I am, there's going to be no way for me to find or connect with like-minded people or like-minded organizations. I have to read that again. I was a brain dead Negro the first time. 2 books, Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents. I don't know which one is first, but it's that continuation. I don't know your work, but this other woman who I follow on Twitter, Tanana Reeve Dew, and the people, the dead, Kindred is also good. I wasn't crazy about Kindred, but Tanana Reeve Dew with the you ready to do your haul? Tanana Reeve Dew with the dead. Oh, you have her books. Now a lot of her stuff I haven't read. I just read the Living Blood series. But she's amazing. I haven't started it. And I was resistant to start her books because I'm like, when Octavia Butler passed, they were like, oh, she's the new Octavia Butler. I'm like, I want the old Octavia. I don't want, I resist. And then I read it and she's not Octavia Butler, but she's excellent. And she's on Twitter. She's like a real live, like she just comes across as really, I like her. I'm her and her husband. I'm excited about them. Women are more attractive in groups than when they're alone because of something called the cheerleader effect. I guess you get the benefit of the average cuteness of all the people around you, and it increases your cuteness. But I guess if you're the cutest one in the group, then your cuteness goes down. Although cuteness, there is no who's the cutest to who? Because who's the cutest to one person is the ugliest to somebody else, right? So I don't know. Lu Wen, China supermodel's New Year message sparks row. Oh, she said, Happy Lunar New Year. And some Chinese people were like, oh, you can't say Chinese New Year? Oh, because in other parts of the world, I guess they celebrate it as well, not just China. In other parts of Asia, I think of other parts of the Asian world, they celebrate it. In the Moon Ministry, we kind of for a minute celebrated the Lunar New Year, but but people got upset with her, like, you not being a proud Chinese, you afraid to say Chinese, in the same way that if people say, it sounded to me like if people say happy holidays here, that, the people are like, oh, we say Merry Christmas. It was like they got on the child, whatever her name is, Leo Wien. The Danish inventor accused of the horrific murder of a Swedish journalist on his submarine allegedly texted his girlfriend a description of the crime. He said that's what he wanted to do, and then that's what he did it. That's what he did. He killed the person on his submarine. I guess I have two questions. Who's out here making submarines? And I guess somebody is. And then two, you heard about that one. And then two, who out here killing? Why are we out here killing people? They kill for fun. Is that what it is? Because maybe, they say, or, if you watch some of these TV shows, they say once you kill people, it's like an adrenaline rush, and like something is changed in you. And it's like people say, once you get a tattoo, then a lot of times you want more tattoos. Or I remember for me, the first time that I got an extension, I was like, oh my God, I need an extension. I heard about these things called extension. I made up a lie to tell my professor to get the extension. I went to my professor. I'm like, I need an extension. And what had happened was, and I was about to launch into my lie, and the professor was like, okay, when you gonna bring it to me? And it was like just the flood, like all of a sudden, then I didn't have to do things on time because I could just get an extension. So maybe once you kill somebody, then it's like some new floodgate opens in you, and you can appreciate the fun of killing people. Yeah. So who out here building submarines, and who out here killing people, and why? And then you get the text message from your partner saying that they want to, oh, I want to kill somebody on my submarine. Like, how are you processing that? Like, do you think they're serious? If you think they're serious, do you go to the police? Do you not go to the police because you think they might kill you? I mean, do you not go to the police because you black and you be afraid? Yeah, they might kill me if I bring the devil in here. If I bring the snake in, the snake might bite me as much as anybody else. I don't know. Who do I go to? Who do I go to? And if she wanted to go to somebody, I don't know. WHO, World Health Organization, warns of soaring rates of measles in Europe. Iran plane crash wreckage found on mountain. Gita, state of emergency as storm hits New Zealand. This is the same storm. It was a tropical storm, and now it's just a storm. I read the article. I can't remember the details now. Syria war. Fresh strikes on besieged eastern Ghouta kills dozens. So that's more than 24 people. So rest in peace to those people and their families and communities, the people as they make their transitions, and all of us in the world. DC deputy mayor resigns after allowing chancellor's daughter to cheat school lottery system. So, there's a system for getting into the school, and the deputy mayor was like, you ain't got to go through the system. You know me. Come on, let this person in the school. And now they done resign. How often? I figure that happen all the time. Mozambique. Rubbish dump collapse kills at least 17 people. I think I heard about that yesterday. So peace for all of those people who made their transition and their families in the communities and the world. Now, those people I heard were on that dump because they make a living scavenging things that other people have thrown out, and I guess reselling them. And I think that's why those people were on the dump. I don't know why or how it collapsed. I skimmed the story yesterday or early this morning. Bravo stars reportedly have to sign, Bravo, the TV station with all the housewives, their stars reportedly have to sign an STD clause, a sexually transmitted disease clause. So I guess as part of their job, like if you were, if you worked in Las Vegas in the legal brothels where your job is having sex with people, you probably, having STDs is like, or the possibility of it and protecting against it is like part of your work. But most of us, STDs are not really part of our work. Right. I'm not surprised. I'm kind of surprised. I'm like, they have a STD clause in like, that's deep to me. Like, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but yeah, that's what they're doing over at Bravo. Major League Baseball makes pitch to speed up games. So their games now are like 3 hours and 15 minutes. I feel like a game more than 2 hours is too long for me. But I'm not really much of a game person. But I had a cousin who played softball. And when I was like a teenager, I used to go to her games. And it seemed like it was hey, I'm at my doctor's appointment. We'll watch later. My Twisted Life with Poetry. If you're not subscribed, go on and subscribe. What's up, Miss Poetry? Welcome, have fun at the doctor. What you at the doctor for? So I'm glad that they're making a pitch to speed up the games. I don't know why, like I really care. And you guess that people who are into baseball are into baseball, and I don't know. I don't know if they've been complaining. I'm gonna subscribe. Yay, thank you. That's what they do over at Bravo. LOL, haha. I don't know why it was so funny to me. I don't know. I just like to think that they're acting. Acting like it's their real life. I don't want nobody over there. I don't know. North Kentucky teacher gets 1-day suspension for calling student porch monkey. Officer who shot pregnant black woman suspended for not having taser. And this was a fatal shooting, wasn't it? I don't remember the sister's name. I'm going to pull that up and keep going. Maxwell wants to wine and dine Black Panther star Danai Gurira. Now, I had heard of Maxwell somehow in association with Prince, but I didn't really know who it was. But it was interesting to me to look at the imagery, and he's lighter skin. And y'all know I have this endless fascination. I'm keeping a list of couples where the woman is as dark or darker than the man, because it seems like it's like, I think I'm up to Oprah Winfrey and her husband, Kenya Moore from Bravo and her husband, my mother and her husband. It seemed like I was up to 4 or 5, but we don't have that. I haven't been able to find that many. So if you find any, if you know any, drop them in the comment box. Oh yes, Charlena Lyles. I remember her name. He gets 2 days off while her children remain motherless. Seattle, June 18th, last year. She was 30 years old. So rest in peace, Mama. And, just peace and protection and light and love to your children and your family and your community and all of us Black folks, for all of the, the distress, the stress, the drama, the trauma, the terribleness that we have to, or I don't know if we have, but that we're exposed to. And like, how do we stay whole? How do we stay healthy? How do we stay grounded? How do we stay encouraged? How do we stay in motion and building for ourselves, with, and I mean, one, not to say that someone's life is not valuable, because everybody's life is valuable. But we have to keep moving, and we have to bring you along in spirit. We have to move on behalf of you. We have to be inspired by you and your experience to continue to move and continue to fight. So Maxwell wants to wine and dine. I don't know if that's true or not, but I was fascinated by that. They have this whole thing going on where the love interest in Black Panther, I guess he was being interviewed, and Lupita walked in the room and they say he froze, and I guess that was some reference to the movie, which I haven't seen yet, but they say he froze. But I think that I don't know. I mean, just because you date someone who's lighter or racially ambiguous doesn't mean you can only date people like that. But I'm like, I don't even think he's interested in a woman that looks unambiguously Black. I think he likes his women white or, outside of the controversy. I love how it shows our beauty. I haven't seen it. I hear that visually is, yeah, we take what I feel like, yeah, I use what I can and I try to throw out the rest. I don't try to get too upset about, what Disney and Marvel are doing. If I can get something edifying or, out of it, I guess I'm here for it. I'm kind of, oh, we got to go out and we got to spend our money and we got to show them that black movies are viable so they'll make more black movies. And I'm like, do I want them making more black movies? I really want to have more conversations about, and I know in the same way that we're not supposed to talk about, we can't say nothing, bad about, Obama. We can't say nothing bad about the ANC and Nelson Mandela. It's a lot of things we're not supposed to talk about. We just supposed to, but I really want to have hear the conversations about Black Panther where we get to analyze it. And because I feel like it's a Disney movie. So I know it's not for me. I mean, you know what I mean? I know sometimes when we're in the process as the director, as the writer, as actors, we can subvert the process, but they didn't put that movie. Disney ain't out here making movies to uplift black folks. You can't convince me of that. The United States, even with it has a black president, ain't out here doing anything. It's a progressive, really. I mean, yeah. Do you know that some banks are quietly raising interest rates for cities after Republican tax cuts? They say they're trying to double dip. So they're getting some money, more money from the tax cuts, and then they're trying to get even more money by raising the tax rates for cities. Ludacris's wife on how she struggles to teach family the beauty of their dark skin. Excuse me. Now that young woman is African. She's lighter skinned. She has her sister living with her, and she says she's living in a house full of light-skinned people. And she says that her family, she has to constantly talk to them about not bleaching and how beautiful they are. France to let wolf population grow despite farmers' fears. Now they were down to having no wolves over in France, and then I guess that now they up to 300 or something. And I was like, 300? That sounds like such a small number to me. It might as well be 50, but anyway, and they're trying to let them grow more, but the farmers are afraid they're gonna, eat their livestock or whatever. But I guess I'm here for the wolves. I guess I'm not really here for killing off anything. I guess I don't know. I'm not gonna say that on the TV. His case helped change the law for juvenile offenders, but after serving 54 years, he was denied parole. I think he was 17, 18, 19 when he was accused of killing someone. I looked at the image because I wanted to see. He looked black to me. So he's been in jail and he's been denied parole. And I guess when he went to jail, he was a juvenile offender. How Malawi, we were just talking about Malawi with that white girl and her adopted 4 children from Malawi. How Malawi reduced infant mortality. See, we got to learn more about Malawi. Jeffrey Kong, Singapore's Lego brick artist, like Legos. He makes artwork with Legos. All right. I'm at the end of my notes for today, and we up here in time. But thank you all so much for tuning in and for all your commentary. I couldn't read all of it, and I was trying to stay on task a little bit because I saw Miss Ivy in the background. I told her we were going to do a haul video with all the stuff she got from South Africa. Because I just picked out 4 or 5 things. I forgot one scarf that I did get from her, one little headband thing that I got from her. Thank you, Asante Sana. Which city are you in? They say that in Detroit, in the African-centered community. Thank you, Spencer Whitelow. Hey! Another great show, Angela. Black Love. Yay! But I was trying to get her to do a haul. I saw her here. But, I don't know if I'll be able to get her too. I got to do the, in Newark. Oh, for a minute, my first husband, worked with somebody who was in the physics department at Newark. A black, dang, I can't remember him. He had worked with AT&T. I can't think of his name. He was a physicist, and we were in New York at that time. And I lived in Montclair for a minute. Was that around that time? I can't remember. I'd have to think back. But I've spent a minute, sort of, kind of, not much, but that's good. And my people know Amiri Baraka. I think my people know some people in in Newark and have spent time in, you know, that community back and forth here. So yeah, we're all connected. Yep. So yay, Asante Sana. Thank you. My husband knew him. All right, cool. Yeah, it is a small world. But that's a whole nother story. But thank you. So I am about to do Real Housewives of Atlanta. I'm gonna do a recap on that. I'm doing today. I also need to do hashtag Be Fabulous You, and I don't know what the letter is today. I think yesterday I did kindness. I think it's kindness today. So we're gonna be talking briefly about kindness. Can you talk too much about kindness and being kind? But those are videos that are coming up today, and maybe we'll get a haul video from Ivy. It's kind of rainy today, so we don't have a lot of good light. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but that's what I got. Today is the best day ever. You are the #1 stunner. You're the best you out here. So be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous you. Be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous you. Peace. Be you.